Today, we're traveling to the icy edge of the North Atlantic for a country name that blends exploration, exile, and a touch of clever Viking era marketing. This episode is all about Greenland, a land full of icy surprises. Greenland is the largest island in the world, and it is home to the second largest ice sheet after Antarctica. But here's the part that still leaves many scratching their heads. Why is the place covered in snow and glaciers called Greenland? Well, the answer involved a bit of Viking era persuasion, clever naming, and a landscape that is anything but green. And in this podcast, where we uncover the fascinating history behind the names of nations, regions, and territories across the globe, we're going to dig into the story behind the name of Greenland. Why it's called Greenland, who named it, and how its history has been shaped by migration, myth, and monarchy. But before we start, let's set the scene. Greenland is a massive landmass located in the North Atlantic Ocean, forming part of the Arctic region. About 80% of its land is covered by ice, making it one of the most inhospitable environments on the planet. The island plays a crucial role in our global climate system. Its vast frozen landscape holds climate data that stretches back hundreds of thousands of years. And its melting glaciers are closely watched by scientists around the world. And yet, the icy expanse bears a name that suggests a much warmer and more inviting place. And for that, we have Erik the Red to thank. Now, let's rewind to the 10th century. Erik the Red, a Norwegian adventurer and outlaw, had been exiled from Iceland due to what historians delicately refer to as legal troubles. Looking for a fresh start, he sailed west and discovered a cold, rugged, and largely untouched land. What Erik the Red saw wasn't just an opportunity to settle. He saw a chance to build a community, and he knew he would need some help. To entice the Norse settlers to join him, he came up with a brilliant idea. Named the place something irresistible, Greenland. Erik believed that people would be more likely to join him if the land had a favorable name. And to be honest, it's kind of hard to argue with that logic. For Viking families facing the harsh realities of Scandinavia and Iceland, the promise of a fertile green paradise must have sounded like a dream come true. Of course, reality was a little different. Most settlements were along Greenland's southern coastline, where short summers bring patches of green and grazing land. But the vast majority of the island is a stark, icy wilderness. Erik's name was less a description and more a strategic bit of Viking branding. And it worked. Now, how did Greenland become part of the Kingdom of Denmark? Originally, Greenland was settled by Norsemen from Iceland, beginning with Erik the Red's colony around the year 985. But over the century, the Norse settlement eventually disappeared, likely due to a mix of climate changes, isolation, and conflict with the Inuit populations, who had also migrated into the region. After the Norse colony faded, Greenland had no formal European control until the 18th century. At that time, the dual monarchy of Denmark and Norway began reasserting colonial claims over Greenland, primarily through missionaries and trading activities. When the union between Denmark and Norway dissolved in 1814, Greenland became a full colony under the Kingdom of Denmark. and the island has remained connected to Denmark ever since, though the nature of that relationship has evolved significantly. In 1953, Greenland's status changed from a colony to a county of Denmark, and in 1979, it gained more rule around the island, more political autonomy. That autonomy expanded further in 2009 when Greenland established self-rule, taking control over many internal affairs. Denmark retained control of defense and foreign policy. So, while Greenland has long history ties to Denmark, it's now considered an autonomous territory with its own parliament and growing independence in day-to-day governance. The island is home to approximately 56,000 people, most of whom are Inuit or of mixed Inuit and Danish heritage. It's one of the least densely populated regions in the world, and is becoming a global focus due to the impact of climate change. As glaciers retreat and new lands emerges, Greenland is literally reshaping itself geopolitically. And despite its icy reality, the name Greenland still captures the imagination, especially when you consider its southern neighbor, Iceland, which is actually greener than Greenland itself. Greenland is one of the most often cited examples of how names can flip expectation and influence perception and migration. What's remarkable is that Erik the Red's branding move has lasted over 1,000 years. His choice gave Greenland a name that still sparks curiosity and conversation to this day. And that's the beauty of place names. They aren't just labels. They are tools for storytelling, instrument of persuasion, and sometimes a little bit of strategic imagination. The story of Greenland reminds us that names can shape how we see the world, how we engage with it, and even how we choose where to live. So, the next time you spot Greenland on a map, remember, it's more than just a vast land covered by ice. It is a story of exploration, exile, and one of the most clever rebranding in history. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with fellow explorers of the world's hidden histories. The name of each country has a beginning, and the map is just the start. Rivers and borders shape the map, but it is the meaning of names that moves us. If you're curious to learn more about the meaning behind the names of other countries, check out the Country Name Game. It's a fun educational card game that tests your knowledge of global history and geography through riddles and clues. Thanks for exploring Greenland with me today. Until next time, keep exploring.